Next is the stabbing pen. This is more dangerous. Let me put this aside. Hello and welcome back to another video review. In this video we're checking out this brand new knife over here, which is the Aegis AT, which is a semi-auto knife, otherwise known as an assist knife. So it is almost a semi-automatic, but it's not. So what makes this an kind of an auto assist knife is pretty much is that what you have to do is just move your flick of your finger and this thing just flies right out of it. It is pretty much what it is. Now also it has a spring in it, so the spring all by itself just moves this a lot faster, and that's what makes this knife an assist knife. Something I totally hate. I hate assist knives. It's not an automatic where you press on a button, and it's not just a manual. It is right in between. This is why I'm wearing the gloves over here. Also because I'm filming and I don't want to do something accidental here. Now the problem with the assists is that they're probably the most dangerous knives you can own for that specific reason. It is because it is an assisted knife, and as long as you put a little bit of pressure on it, it just jumps and it actually shoots itself out, which makes it extremely dangerous knife. That being said, it is excellent for exact this purpose. If you're wearing a glove and sometimes you have to use your hands to do things with them, and you need something that opens up with the flick of the finger, and it's much harder to do it with the automatics where you press on it and you can accidentally cut yourself. You need something that just flies open in a press of a button, and pretty much this is it. Now this knife all by itself is a really nice looking X-Acto knife. It is pretty much what it is. It is just a top of the line X-Acto, full with a Credo 2 D2 blade over here, and it opens pretty easily. It also has a very insane amount of hand room for you to hold and grip this on. So that's something it does as well. This is the red edition. You can see I'm wearing red, and compare this to the red that I'm wearing. It looks kind of orange. So that's something for it to be said about this. Now, although this is an assist open and can fly right out of here at any second, it does have a safety feature that you can press and you can hear the sound. And it is right here. It is a little bit hard for you to engage. So why do I need this actually for? Well, this is why I bought this. I bought this because I like to open packages. And sometimes I can open it and I have to open it outside because of COVID restriction and so on. Well, just to be safe, better to open some things outside than inside the house. So as you open this up, this thing is amazing when it comes to opening. It is extremely sharp and it opens something very quick and fast. It doesn't take much effort for you to open. It comes extremely sharp right out of the box. You can see it over here. It just works. Now, why do I open a lot of things? Well, I have an eBay shop, and that's one of the fun things about having a shop, is to go ahead and open a bunch of packages. So going through a bunch of knives is a fun factor in my line of selling stuff on eBay. And there's going to be a link below to the class in case you're interested. Now let's go ahead and do some testing. So we have this piece of paper over here, and we have this knife right here. Let's go ahead and do a few testing with this. First of all, a cutting test. You can see how easily this thing slices in case you need to. Even the side slice, which usually is not very good. Next is this. You can see how it went right through this like a piece of butter. Next is the stabbing test. This is more dangerous. Let me put this aside. And you can see it goes almost in. Well, I wasn't going to use too much force just to show you that this thing can do it. And lastly, let's go ahead and check out how good this thing slices all together. This is good. And the best part about this is if you look at the knife, you can't even see any damage that you actually use this at all. So this makes it a great knife. Now we're going to go into up close and personal so you can examine this knife and check it out, and let me know at the end of the video what you think of this knife. If you want to get it for yourself, it's going to be a link below where you can get it on Amazon at the best possible price. This is something I have been waiting for a very long time to actually get my hands on, and I finally have it here. So why did I get this, and should you get one? First off, it comes in a box that looks like this. If you're looking for one that's authentic, this is how the box is going to actually look like. You see, there is a magnet that opens and closes over here, and that's what makes this kind of authentic. Well, it had another shell here, and I took it out, so that thing is gone. And right here, there was more information about this knife. Now, the knife itself is pretty decent. It has a few interesting features that are just available for this knife. The clear G2 blade, and this is made out of steel over here. It is featuring assisted opening and a durable texture to it as well, with layered loops right here, where you can put a lanyard all the way at the bottom of this thing. It is designed in Seattle, but it is not made in USA. So this specific one is very good looking, and should you get one for yourself is the biggest question. So first off, this thing right here, it looks red in the pictures, but it's not. This is kind of an orangey yellowish tint to it, and what I mean by yellowish, it depends on the light. You see, as the light hits this thing, it kind of changes the color code in here. Next thing right here is what you do to close it. You just move it, your hands down, and you're able to move this all the way down right here. Now this thing is huge. You can tell that this is a big knife. This is not something small. And the only reason for it is because the handle itself is super huge. And right here you can see this. This is a deep carry clip. It is kind of very, very deep when it comes to that. Now the grip itself, I really like the actual grip, and I like this design right here. This thing is pretty nice looking as a knife. As an assisted opening, it has use for what it is, but it makes it also extremely dangerous. This is why I'm wearing these gloves. So here it is, it opens up. Now, if you're going to be using it with one hand, and whatever purpose or reason you're going to be using it with one hand, this is great. To close it, you cannot close this with one hand. I mean, you can try. Let's go ahead and try it. Move it down. It makes it a lot more hard for you to close. Because it is assisted opening, it also makes it much more dangerous for you to close this with one hand. So it defeats the whole purpose of opening and closing this with one hand, because opening with one hand, you have to close it with two hands, just because it is assisted opening. It has a place for what it is, but because it's extremely dangerous, it comes with this right here, which is the lock right in the back of it. So you don't accidentally flick this open and cut something or cut you, if this is the case. So you move the lock. The lock by itself is super hard to engage. You see right now it is on an engaged position. Now it is disengaged. Yes. So now it's not a problem. If it is on the disengage mode, you can just leave it out, and it's not going to accidentally disengage itself if you just press on it or touch it. On the other hand, once this thing is engaged, well, all bets are off, because now it can just flip open. In fact, it is much safer for this to be opened than closed, just given how it just snaps all by itself. So this is one of the most dangerous knives that I own because of this issue. And can you take it for everyday use? Yes. But it is a problem when you put this in the pocket. Now, the interesting thing about the D2 here, I don't know why they choose to do D2, because every kind of thing that you touch, it seems to be getting right on this blade right here, and it's just something that you have to kind of wipe out all the time, making it super extremely annoying. That being said, this is a good, decent knife. So you look at this, you're like, huh, this looks a little bit cheap. Well, you're right. This thing not only looks cheap, it also feels a bit on the cheap side as well. I really wish that this would have been a different shade. You see, depending on the light, it is either yellow, orange, or red. but it's not actual really red. And this is something I'm a little bit disappointed at. And of course my screen here is a little bit more brighter than it actually is, so it is a little bit more reddish in person. But it is really, the color code is more oranges than, hey, a red version. As you can see over here, this thing is not too thick when it comes to that, and the blade itself is also as well. I do like the top here that it gives you this extra surface. When it comes to your fingers gripping this, well, we have a lot of grip for us to use. A lot. So it does give you a lot of safety in case you need to chop anything off or, you know, use this for everyday use. This knife all by itself features a deep carry clip. It is pretty decent constructed for what it is. I would call it an oversized big X-Acto knife. That's what the category I would actually put it at. This knife is not for everyday use. You could probably use it for EDC purposes. I don't recommend it. And you have to be extremely careful for what it is. I do wish that it had a safety right here instead of in the back. The safety is super hard to engage and disengage. Now, over time, it might get a lot easier. The thing is, you can't tell if the safety engage or disengage, except for when you turn it on, you have the red button right here, very small thing, very slim. I really wish that it was a little bit different so you can tell if the safety is engaged or not. Another thing about this, if it doesn't go all the way in, sometimes the safety is not all the way engaged, and you have to keep on pressing on it. So keep this in mind. You might not actually go all the way with the safety like this. It's right in the middle. The safety is not engaged. Have to stick it more in. So that's another quirk with this knife right here. And this thing is a little confusing. I don't know why to put the lanyard very close to the knife edge surface too. Now, if you need an assisted opening, this is good. I'm not a fan of automatics. I hate assisted openings. This is like in between of both worlds, master and jack of none. And the problem with this specific knife, the biggest problem I have with it, is that it is assisted opening. I really wish that it didn't have assisted opening, otherwise it would have been a pretty decent knife for me to use. As an assisted opening, it makes this a lot more difficult to play with and use in everyday purposes, and you can't just put this in your pocket and forget about it either. Even though you can put the safety on, I never trust the safety on those knives. If the knife is already dangerous, that needs a safety on, it's no good. And plus, a knife like this, what happens if the safety just breaks or something accidentally just presses on it, and then this thing flips right in your pocket? No. This is a knife I would rather not use at all. If it is assisted and it has safety, those are double no's for me. So it does have its place and purpose for people who need one-hand use of this knife. So if you're somebody who needs one hand, you're doing a lot of stuff outdoors, well, it's much more harder for you to just engage and open a knife, then yeah, something like this opens up and everything, makes it great. That being said, unless you have some safety gloves on, I don't recommend you to really use this thing. Yeah, you can possibly open this up and nothing will happen to you, but I don't trust this. Plus, the jerking mechanism is one of the worst things about this thing. Is that, take a look, you see there is not much for you to grab for this to hold very well. There's a very small grabbing room right here, which means when you open this up, you see it goes with such a force that the first time I opened this, it actually dropped from my hand because there was so little to grab right here to this, making this really bad and dangerous. So in general, I don't recommend for you to get this thing. Although if you're okay with all the points I went through, then go ahead and get one of those because it is cool looking and it has its place and purposes in EDC gear and community likewise. Thank you so much for getting all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you learned something new today. And biggest question is, are you going to get one of those knives? Why and why not? If the answer is yes, you're getting one of those, well, tell me below why you're going to decide to get this and why not. And let me know what you think of it. If this is a good knife or not, comment in the below. in the description. And should I keep this or should I get rid of it? That is another question you should be asking and answering down below in the comment section. Love it or hate it, please subscribe to this channel, for you never know what is the next thing being reviewed on this channel. See you on the inside in the Survival Tech Show.